And on that note, we will go ahead and dig into what we have planned to talk about today, which is everything prospecting in the new year. As the new year approaches, I know many people are thinking about what they're going to be doing with January joins and what membership habits will look like. So Charlie and I are going to talk you through some trends that we're seeing, some habits and different processes to be thinking through as you approach the new year, because we truly believe that it shouldn't be impossible. Just because we're in the middle of whatever 2020 is doesn't mean that we won't have a strong start to the year of prospecting. So let's go ahead and hop in.
Yeah, thanks, Christy. I'm happy to get started here, and I'm grateful to join you today, and excited to talk about prospecting in the upcoming months. Also really excited to share with everyone what we've been working on in Dexco operations and in Dexco Engage, and what's in the works for the future. But before I get there, I'd like to first maybe talk about some of the trends that we're seeing in membership. So Christy, in your role as the market manager for Daxko, you're responsible in many ways for keeping a pulse on the trends that we're seeing, the pressures that are influencing the movement. And I know one piece of that sort of work is our monthly insights and impact report. And the October report is actually, I think, launched today. So can you give us a little bit of insight into what our customers are seeing related to membership trends?
Of course. So yes, if you do not follow our monthly Insights and Impact Report, I encourage you to do so. It's on Daxko.com under Insights. And what we do is each month we publish trends to give everyone a pulse on how membership, revenue, check-ins, registrations are happening across the movement. Because we know that in order to make really smart decisions, you sometimes need the holistic picture. You need to see how the movement is recovering. You need to see how people who are similar size to you, maybe by revenue, are recovering so that you can compare. And we see here in the October report that active units were 77% back to normal. If you've been following or attended any of the webinars or seen any of the monthly posts, you'll know that that's actually pretty expected. Active units have been leveling off around 77 to 78% back to normal each month when compared to October for the next month. You'll see here that there was a dip in active members from September to October, but we're going to take a look on the next slide in just a minute. You'll see that's actually that was the seasonal expectation. It wasn't a drastic dip, and actually we're seeing some other positive signs in membership. Terminations did increase. That does cause the dip from active units, but the positive note is that two things. New joins increased 20% for October, and that is after a couple of months of new join increase. And then also active membership units are back, or on hold membership units are decreasing. So if you see here that new joins month over month increase, obviously the dip that we expected, January was crazy high because it's January joins that skewed the strong start to the year. It was the expectation in April. Start tricking back up slowly and slowly. We saw a really big dip from May to June, and that's when a lot of us saw a lot of our initial reopening. And since then, it has continued to increase. I want to take a look at what active memberships have looked like year over year and month over month. I think it might be back one slide. Perfect. So if we're looking at membership revenue, if we're comparing what 2020 was to 2019, it's lower. We expect that with specifically when we're looking at what percent back to normal it is for each month. If it's around the 70s to 78, it's not going to be completely where it was in 2019. But the most encouraging look here is that the member trend has not differed. So it's almost the exact same line when you start in May compared to 2021. So the best indication necessary of the health of your association is not to do the month over month comparisons. You should still do that, keep an eye on it, but to truly see how memberships are recovering, look at the year over year comparison to see how you're trending, which I think this membership revenue is an interesting view because, again, the dip happened. It was less than was expected across the board, but we're still trending in the right direction. Another thing here is that, like I said, new joins are through the roof. Not through the roof, but they're through the roof comparatively for what we were thinking of people being more tentative when joining a YMCA or JCC. And in 2020, there were still 10,000 prospects added in Daxco operations. That's a big number for people who are hesitant to go out and are more refrained from the types of places that they're going. And honestly, we know that that number is higher because a lot of you guys, depending on how you have it set up in Daxco operations, might be using a program to drive your prospecting workflow. And so that number is even higher. And if you're thinking that's just data within Daxco operations, if let's say you take into account all of the prospects in your community. So you'll hear the word used sometimes as orphaned because their gym has closed, or there's a couple of areas where they no longer have a gym that's open. They are looking for a place to come find community. So that pool of prospects is actually a lot bigger than it was previously. So really working through what's your plan to drive action is going to be super vital in the next couple of weeks leading up to the new year, because we need to be thinking about it now. And we can't be thinking about it after Thanksgiving. We need to start thinking through what the plan's going to be and come up with some sound recommendations.
Thanks for sharing that, Christy. Yeah, and I think at least my biggest takeaway from those numbers and what we talked through is that there's just a ton of opportunity out there, and there's just some work that we need to do to kind of get the energy and the power behind what your next step looks like given this opportunity. And I want to maybe take this time to maybe encourage folks to get a little bit out of their comfort zone and challenge the usual way of doing things. And as we all know, very little in the world is usual today. So Christy, leading up to this webinar, we actually sent out a survey just asking about what we think prospecting might look like in the new year. Can we talk through some of the responses that we heard from that?
For sure. So I think Charlie, you nailed it. Really thinking through new ways to prospect is kind of essential. The biggest takeaway from that data is that it can feel abysmal when in reality there are opportunity. We just need to think outside the box, and that's really what the point of this webinar is to kind of think through some different ideas. So based off of the webinar, we had a couple of main ideas. One is, what is your digital presence? We had a lot of people talk through finding ways to be more prevalent online, which is the name of the game across the board. It's not just in your promotion, it's also thinking through virtual content, virtual memberships. We've heard that all year. But I think having a really, having a robust digital presence helps meet your members where you are. Another key point is reaching new members. So very often we try and really lean from what I've had conversations with people in the movement, they lean on win backs. Win backs are really important. You need to be focusing on them. But how are you reaching new people in your community, especially people who maybe are looking for a new gym, maybe their place has closed down, and tying that back into that first point, a digital presence is where you can and really ramp up that outreach. So having paid social ads, making sure that when someone searches your association or agency in Google, that you're showing up in local SEO searches. You have really robust, what's the word I'm looking for? Recommendations and reviews from your members that are sharing their story. That is more likely to convert and get online and inbound interest that will drive new memberships as well. And then also thinking through winbacks. Like I said, winbacks should still be part of your messaging, especially if people terminated maybe around March or April when they were just nervous about what the future looked like. You guys have done tremendous work in making sure if you're reopening and you're able to, that you're being safe. That needs to be part of your messaging to those winbacks and target that messaging. One thing that I thought was really interesting in the survey responses was expanding your revenue portfolio. I think in the new year, we think new joins, new memberships. Yes, memberships are important, but also expanding their wallet share with you as a member. So maybe trying leaning into upsells a bunch in the new year. If someone has stayed loyal to you throughout COVID-19 and the ups and downs of 2020, they might be more likely to enroll in a program, enroll in some additional childcare offerings. So you're able to think through ways to leverage that loyalty to make sure you're driving that upsell and expanding the revenue portfolio. And then the last is we heard a lot about just working through ways to manage leads. Right now, we know you guys, you already worked on a thin and slim staff, and now that that is even smaller. We know that it's a pain point. So finding a way that, okay, if we get all this great inbound interest from a robust campaign in the new year, how do we manage that? How do we actually get them to convert to new members? And I think thinking through that process is essential, and that we at Daxco are also working on ways to think through that process with you, and we'll dig into that a little bit later. But those were the main ideas and call outs throughout the survey that we were sent. Is there anything that I didn't touch on, Charlie, that you're thinking through?
You covered most of it, and I think those are all excellent ideas and good food for thought. And I hope we continue thinking of these as we get further into this discussion today, and maybe some ideas are sparked. So in my 5 or 6 years working with YMCAs and JCCs and other nonprofits, and especially with folks in marketing roles, I've heard a few pain points or struggles in this category. And so I'd love to kind of talk through, sort of the themes we're seeing around that, and in ways that we hope we might be able to, in the future, address those particular roadblocks. So the first thing that I want to kind of touch on is just generally speaking, the challenges in many ways have to do with establishing that smooth, efficient, and repeatable process for collecting lead information and then following up with those leads in a suitable and timely way. So I've seen many different ways of managing prospecting campaigns. And some of those ways include Daxco solutions, some of those don't, and many are kind of a creative mix of a few different tools. And of course, there are also some associations who just haven't yet been able to establish that process that works for their team. And actually, in the survey that we sent prior to this webinar, we asked you what sorts of things are you using today, and those responses kind of lined up with what we've heard over the years. So it's a mix of Daxco tools and then maybe other tools. I think the Excel spreadsheet is a common thread among these different processes. And we also heard back from some of our users that they're not really doing anything and haven't really established that seamless process yet. Also, there are, of course, a handful of other prospecting kind of CRM tools that our customers are using. It requires some manner of coordination between Daxco Operations, Dexco Engage, and that other tool. So The main kind of pain point or roadblock here being that, if you're spending your time uh, context shifting, moving between tools, then you're perhaps losing out on something really important in terms of following up in a quick and meaningful way. And that gets to the next kind of roadblock or pain point is timing here. So if you kind of look broadly in the world of prospecting and sales efforts, we find that people who are prospects for something typically, or more often than not, end up going with the organization that responds first. And so it's really important to establish that process where you can ensure that quick follow-up to keep that interest warm. But it's not just responding quickly. You have to be kind of persistent with that too. So research in this area also shows that a majority of sales conversions actually happen after the 5th to the 12th contact. So that's a lot of following up. That's a lot of kind of persistent and kind of patient follow up with the person, and likely something that if you're doing a kind of a manual process, or if you're juggling between one tool and another and updating a spreadsheet to track progress, by the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th touch point, it's probably getting a little hard to manage. So do you have what it takes to kind of set up that process for the long run, and do what needs to be done to lead to conversions? So that kind of gets to this final opportunity for us is just how can we lean into being the most efficient that we can be. And so as we'll see in just a second with the prospecting features that we're working on in Dexco Engage, we want to make it so that you're not spending your time trying to figure out what the next step's going to be. You're going to spend the time actually meaningfully interacting with your prospect or your lead, and making sure that they're taking the right steps to joining or purchasing. We'll also walk through some of the efficiencies that might be gained if you had a system that would automatically assign leads out to your staff, so that you kind of have this process of accountability in motion, so you know who's doing what and when, and keeping things like a well-oiled machine. And so we believe firmly that if you have kind of a sales outcome-based system, you're not only going to help generate new revenue in a more efficient way, but you're just going to streamline your processes, which is going to make you and your team happier. So these are kind of the things that are the guiding principles and the kind of the lead up to what we see as prospecting success in the future. And so speaking of that, Christy, I know you've worked with many of our customers, and you actually happen to be on a marketing team yourself. So when it comes to kind of fueling an overall digital experience, and how having a solid digital experience plays into prospecting success, could you walk us through some examples of kind of conversions success that we've seen?
Yeah,
so far?
definitely. So I always I feel like I contradict myself with this slide, because this is really exciting. First, in 2020, so that is a year, let's put the context, 2020, we have seen $12.4 million generated through Daxco Engage emails. And I say why I contradict myself is that emails are an essential part of your outbound effort, but they cannot be your only piece of your outbound effort. If you are sending out emails and you are being tailorized and targeted and efficient and persuasive in your messaging, you're going to see some really great conversion. And we've seen that with our Daxco Engage customers. With conversion analytics, we're able to track the membership join, program registration, or donation driven through Daxco Engage. And we're able to see that success. If you're using a different CRM tool, there may be some ways to track similar success based off of click-throughs. But the benefit of having it integrated is that you can make a proof point of saying, hey, these outbound emails have conversion success. So email analytics is going to be is super essential. But to the point of you can't lean on one email. It ties back to what Charlie was saying, is that it can take 5 to 12 times for a member to convert, and that can be overwhelming. So especially if you're putting in a lot of effort to drive up your digital presence, what are you going to do to drive up your outbound presence? There's a couple of different ways that you have to maneuver it. Having a digital presence gets people where they are and drives them an inbound lead. But if you're pushing out emails and messages to members, that's more outbound leads. So it's coming from a couple of different angles. The benefit of an engagement assistant, which you may have heard us say, talk about this on past webinars, is that with our engagement assistant, it's doing the follow-up work for you. So it's essentially adding someone to your team to help to drive those personalized, very, very tailored conversations with your members so that if there's someone who most people are not going to convert until that 5 or 12th outreach, you have that covered without actually taking your time. So our engagement assistant is actually powered by Conversica. They do it's actually artificial intelligence sales representative or an engagement assistant coming up beside you and doing that targeted outreach. So you'll see that $12 million impact, but then what do you do when you need to continue that outbound effort when you're already strapped for time and focusing on more the inbound leads and digital presence? So you'll see here we have some really great success stories with Lime Saves the Fox Cities, Pikes Peaks region, and Florida's First Coast. Of the number of prospects added into their engagement assistant, they had some really high conversion success into hot leads. So the engagement assistant is reaching out and will identify those people who say, yes, I'm interested, and then turn it over to your team to close the deal. Because that's really what you are best at. So when you look at their success, you're like, okay, what does that mean for me? I want to walk you guys through an example. Between those 3 accounts, let's say the average conversion rate was 36%. And your membership fee is $46 as your average membership fee. If you have around 3,000 prospects in your system, that engagement assistant will get you about 1,000 hot leads. So those are people who have raised their hand and said, hey, I'm interested in learning more. I really want to join. We're being conservative here. If you have only half of those people actually turn into members, because let's be honest, if 100 people raise their hand and say they're interested, they're most likely going to join. So that conversion rate could be higher. With that, just one push, that one outbound push, you could generate $28,000 in new revenue. And having a technology in place to help scale that effort in the new year is going to be important because people are interested in joining. We see that in the new join trends, but they're not going to come in as many waves as we've expected in the January. You have to have some really strategic and targeted outreach to get people in the door. I think one thing that is a pretty consistent theme in prospecting success is the use of Daxco Engage. And now might be some people on the call who don't use it, but whether you have or you haven't, we have a pretty exciting sneak peek to show you about some things coming. So I encourage you guys to tag along. So Charlie, can you walk us through some new prospecting development in Daxco Engage?
Yeah. So I think you're right, Christy, in pointing out the kind of theme of seeing success in this area when it comes to the use of Dexco Engage. And I have to admit, I am not unbiased here, but we certainly do want Dexco Engage and Daxko operations to be that go-to essential tool for prospecting. And to that end, we've invested quite a bit of time and effort in enhancing prospecting features this year, and we'll continue to do so into 2021. Just a very quick, very high level recap of releases that have happened this year. It feels like it's been more than 1 year. Believe it or not, it happened this year. So in Daxko operations, we added web forms, so the ability to build a quick prospect interest lead form that you could surface through a URL or embed in your website, have that kind of flow into your Daxko operations prospects. We've done that, and then just a kind of a general redesign of some of the prospect features in operations. So that was this past summer, and then shortly after that, within Daxco Engage, we added the concept of a prospect or a prospect profile within Daxco Engage, and then added a new set of group roles that pulls prospects from operations into Engage. So you could set up these automated campaigns to follow up with your operations prospects. So just a quick look at what we've done so far, and kind of leads into where we're going next. And so I'm super excited about this next part. I'm going to kind of show off some of the prototype designs for the next phase of prospecting in Dexco Engage. Something we kind of see as a suite of features we're calling prospecting opportunities. But before I get into the prototype, I wanted to share 3 key needs that we've learned about from working with our users. So the first is that the initiatives in Daxko Engage, and so those are these automated engagement workflows that consist of emails, text messages, or tasks. So those initiatives, while ideal for the systematic, standardized campaigns, can at times maybe be too linear when it comes to the sales outcome or prospecting based opportunities that we're talking about today. So for those types of things, we've heard that our users want a bit more flexibility in how people move through a workflow. And they also want new and more personal ways to communicate with their leads. The second thing we've learned is that the teams that are focused on membership acquisition and other revenue generating or donation generating opportunities, they want to be able to treat anyone as a prospect. So it's not just a prospect that you want to become an active unit. You maybe want to target an existing member, and maybe they've been a member for a number of years, but you want to target them for a particular program registration or a donation to your capital campaign. So this concept of anyone being a prospect is certainly central to how we're thinking of this today. And then the third thing, across the board, our users want better ways to track their sales outcomes and their team performance towards those outcomes. And ultimately, what they need is a clearer picture of ROI. So are my efforts worth the time and the energy and the resources that we're putting into them? So these 3 things are kind of the backbone and the sort of core thinking behind why we're focusing on this next phase of prospecting. So now I'm going to switch gears a little bit and give a bit of a sneak peek into what's coming with prospecting in Dexco Engage. And so just a bit of a disclaimer here. So what I'm walking through here in the next couple of minutes is just a prototype. So this is not a fully functioning site, but we're so excited about this and want to share what we've done so far. And I'm going to walk through a couple scenarios here with you with what we're calling prospecting opportunities and opportunity playbooks. So I'm going to walk through here. So we have this new area that we're calling opportunity playbooks. So you can kind of think of these as recommended stages and recommended steps for a specific outcome-based opportunity. So a specific conversion. So they're like initiatives, but again, with a little bit more flexibility. In this scenario that I'm walking through right now, we're taking that win-back opportunity as kind of our example. But as you can see here, we definitely want to paint the picture of how broad this could become and how many different ways you could use these playbooks. So here I'm going to enable my win-back playbook. And so here we'll kind of walk you through a simple step-by-step guide to establish the playbook. So step 1, you're going to define your team. And so this is going to be the team of your staff, your users who will be responsible for the prospects or the leads within this particular playbook. So you can imagine this is maybe a membership team downtown, and then you have the names of the people here. What this is defining is a new concept for Engage, is the ability to assign a person or a lead to a staff person. So there's a concept of assignment today with Engage where you can assign tasks. So your staff and your users will be able to receive kind of to-do items through those initiatives, or maybe it's just a one-off reminder. But here it's a little bit different because we're assigning that lead to a person. So there's this new sense of ownership. So I, as a staff member, have a short list of leads that are my responsibility to follow up with. So in this step, you're defining who all's on that team, who can receive leads as part of this playbook. So I'll continue on to step 2. This is where you pick your audience. So if you're familiar with Daxco Engage, this looks familiar to you. This is where you select the group or the audience that you want this particular workflow to apply to. So here, maybe I select my COVID win back. So you can imagine the group roles there have terminated within the past 6-8 months. Maybe they have a termination reason of this. And you can kind of whittle down your audience to that group of people. Here, I'll continue on to the fun steps. So here is where you define that playbook. So again, if you're familiar with Engage and you know how you build initiatives, this is very similar to that, but you can almost imagine this as kind of a grouping of smaller initiatives. So different stages. So think of this as like a sales funnel where stage 1, you want these certain things to happen. And then after those things happen, stage 2 happens, and so on until you kind of nurture towards conversion. We envision building this out with a kind of a hybrid of things that are automated and things that require a bit more manual handling. So for instance, maybe the first touch point is this, hey, we want you back email that maybe you want everyone to get. And then there's another step later where you're making a phone call and kind of establishing that contact and maybe learning a little bit more about the lead, and maybe you want to do some lightweight kind of lead qualification kind of and get a better sense of the likelihood of this person on actually kind of being interested in what you're offering here. And so they would move kind of through these stages, and as we'll see in kind of the next mock-up I'm going to walk through, will allow for some greater flexibility. So just as an example, if maybe you don't want to do a particular step, or maybe you, after your conversation with this particular lead in stage 1, you decide, hey, I think this lead is actually more suitable for stage 3 because of something about their circumstances. So you can kind of manually move someone to a different stage. So once your team, your marketing team or your membership sales team has established what that recommended playbook looks like, you'll go to a final step to review it. So a quick summary of the people that you're targeting, the steps in the playbook, and generally how long it'll take to get to that conversion, and then you'll be able to launch this. So at this point, the people who are in that group are kind of flowing into this opportunity, and the leads are being assigned out, and those next steps are happening here. So I know that there's a lot to share very quickly, but just wanted to paint the picture of where we're heading with this, and the sort of kind of flexibility and control, the kind of balance between the two that we're hoping to strike with this, so that you could establish what the recommended playbook is, but then for any given circumstance, allow your team to go off script a little bit if needed. The second scenario I'm going to walk through is some of the changes we're making to the sales staff or the membership team who is being assigned leads. And so if you're familiar with Engage, this is the My Tasks page that we're giving a bit of a facelift and calling My Activity. So we're adding some new features here. So I'm just going to walk through this from left to right to kind of show you how this is fleshing out. On the left, you've got some your list of upcoming to-do items, and these will kind of fall into the existing tasks from initiatives or those one-off tasks that we have today. But there'll be a way to see that, hey, this task is about an opportunity. So you'll see some symbol there to kind of bring those to the top of your attention. And then here you can take action with what this particular task is. So in this example, it's a phone call. And so something else new that we're excited to introduce with these prospecting features is a way to differentiate between a task that's more of a to-do item. So maybe something that's more internally focused, so something for your team to check in on, versus a phone call. So we know that tasks are used a lot today to set up a kind of a systematic phone call. So a reminder for your team to call and to reach out to this person. So here you actually have a call log, so you'll be able to indicate the outcome of the call, which will come into play later on with reporting on the activity, and then you could log notes about that call here. A couple other things we're changing just in service to that need for greater flexibility. Maybe I want to not only reassign this task, which we can do today, but maybe I want to reschedule it too. So I don't want to complete it right now, but I want to be reminded again in say a week or so. So just uh, more flexibility there on when a task should be done, or if I just want to skip it entirely and I don't think that it's needed for this particular person at this time, I could log a quick note about why I'm skipping it and skip it here. Some enhancements coming to this tile on the right where you see information about the prospect himself or herself. So a new activity tab. So this will serve as a kind of a quick glance at the most recent things that have happened with this lead. So you can see, hey, we sent them a text message a couple weeks ago. We sent them this email. Someone logged a note or completed a task. And so the purpose being, if you're logging into Engage and you're taking next steps with your leads, you can see at a glance the things that have happened in the past. You can also toggle over and see some quick information about that prospect or about that member. And then if there are any initiatives that are currently running that are engaging this person, will surface that here. So this is, again, just that kind of quick look at what's coming up, and then helping you inform how you take that next step. You have some more tabs over here that we're going to tuck more information into. History would be just a summary of tasks and notes and calls that have happened over the past period of time. So you can kind of take a look at that for yourself, as well as supervisors looking at it for someone on their team. The SMS inbox, and so I glanced over it here. So we're adding some more ability to send one-off communication. So this is something we're really excited about. So say in this scenario, I'm assigned this lead and I'd like to send just a quick text message. And so if you're familiar with Engage today, you know that to send a text message or to send an email, you've got to set up a group and an initiative to do so. So we've heard from our users that it'd be really helpful sometimes just to type up a quick text message to this person and see if I can get a response that way. So, if you know anything about marketing, there's not one method of communication that works for everybody. So it's about finding what works for that person. So it may be that Jacqueline here is super responsive via text message. So I can type out a message here and send it. And then I will kind of have my sort of inbox here. So this would include all the leads that I've had a text message interaction with, or anyone who's responded to a message that I've sent. So I kind of come here and manage those communications here. So not going into initiatives to build and launch a text for these one-off scenarios. It's more of a quick, more personal way to kind of guide those prospects to the next steps. And then finally, this new tab for opportunities. And so this would be where I would come as a staff person to see all the leads that are assigned to me. So I can see very quickly when they were added to this particular playbook, the last time we contacted them. So that would be through an email or a text, or maybe through a logged phone call, and then which type of opportunity this person is in. So I'm in this scenario and kind of where we're starting with this with the first pass. We're really focusing on the win back, but as we expand these features in the future, we could have multiple opportunities running at the same time. So you need a quick way to see, hey, this leads actually a prospect for a donation versus a new membership. And then here, this stage column is where you can make some adjustments to where this person actually falls in their opportunity. So maybe, like I mentioned earlier, you had a phone call with this person and you think, hey, I don't know if we need to send these other emails that are coming in stage 1. Let's go ahead and advance to stage 2. And here there'd be a quick reminder about what that would mean. Or maybe you have a conversation with this person and you learn that, hey, they've moved out of the area and they're not really qualified for this particular opportunity. I want to mark that objection reason and drop the lead from the campaign so the future communications don't happen. And then finally, if you want to mark this lead as converted, you can essentially close the deal, and this would again remove that person from the opportunity playbook and mark that as success on your end. So lots of new and exciting things coming here, and we definitely see this My Activity page growing to become where your team does that work and that sort of one stop to follow up with all manner of leads in your prospecting efforts to come. The final mock-up I want to share is help speak to the need for a clear ROI. So are we doing what we need to do? Are we hitting all the right notes? Are we meeting our goals? So the opportunities dashboard here is a way to see a look at total leads that are engaged in an opportunity, what your conversions look like, how many people are dropping out. Maybe you want to see where people are at this moment in time in terms of stages. So maybe you just launched this playbook yesterday, so you have a lot of people in stage 1, and over time you'll be able to watch them flow through this funnel. We want to track those conversions over time, so showing the success. So this is something that we know about because we can look at Daxco operations and see the event of a registration or of a new join, and kind of tracking those trends over time will help your team get a sense of when you're most successful, or over what period of time do you see most conversions happen. If you're tracking lead dropouts and you're getting objection reasons, here we're going to surface how those break down. So just giving you a little bit more intelligence in terms of what you're hearing from your prospects. This may help you in your future campaigns. And these final 3 sections speak more to someone who maybe manages a team of people who are assigned prospects. And so here I can see the activities that have happened over a period of time. So show me all the interactions that my team has had with any prospect that's in an opportunity. Show me things like the tasks that they've completed, the phone calls that they made. So we've heard from our users that this is something that they want to check on daily, maybe a couple times a day, just to get a sense of the activity that's happening, and ultimately give surface reports that kind of speak to how the team is doing and the success that they're seeing. And so these final 2 will show by staff person who's doing what, how many calls were logged. So we also know from some of our users that people who are responsible for sales conversions or generating new memberships, they might be incentivized to meet specific conversion numbers or specific activity for a given day or week. Here's where we kind of surface that at the high level. And then finally, just showing by staff member who has the highest number of conversions and who maybe has the highest dropout rate. And so this can just lead to future fine-tuning of those playbooks and learning a little bit more about better ways to nurture those prospects through the opportunity. So I know that was a lot, and it's an exciting thing to share. So we're gonna get your gut level feedback here. I think Christy's gonna post a quick poll. What do you think about this? Like, are we on the right track? Is this something that you could see being helpful to your teams as we wrap up this year and go into the new year? And then are you interested in kind of helping us flesh this out even more? Because there's a lot to build, and we certainly want this to be the go-to place for how you nurture your opportunities. So if you have a second, check out that little pop-up that you likely just saw, and let us know what you think.
Charlie, I'm so excited about everything you just showed. I've told you that multiple times. So while you guys are responding to that poll, please go ahead and do so. But wanted to, yes, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best. Good question. How do you all feel about the future of prospecting in Dexco Engage? And while people are answering that, Charlie, I wanted to go ahead and get a question asked that people have been asking in the Q&A is when is this expected to be in Dexco Engage?
Yes, very good question. So this is something, as you could probably tell, because I showed you a prototype that we're currently working on. So we've been working with a small subset of our first early adopters on the early versions of this. So it's likely going to be available to those select users at the end of 2020. So our intention is to get these features out and to get some kind of real world feedback on how this will be used. And so we'll continue to take that feedback and we'll kind of fold that into the larger project that will continue on through the first part of 2021. So at this point, it's very early in the game. We've only recently started work on this, but I would say, we're looking for something in the first part of next year.
Good deal. All right, everyone, you have 10 more seconds to answer, and then we're closing the poll. Any other questions that you have for Charlie or myself around prospecting the new year? Now is the time to go ahead and submit them. And I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. So one note while people are typing in their questions, if you missed my plug at the beginning, this is my plug at the end to go check out the Accelerate schedule at accelerate.daxko.com. It's going to be 2 days packed of content. Go check it out. Starting tomorrow, we are going to be running a special, so be on the lookout from an email from us. So I really encourage you guys to dig into the schedule and let us know if you have any questions about the content. Or any questions about anything we talked about today, you can reach us at marketing@daxko.com. It does not look like we are having any other questions. Charlie, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to wrap up on, or should we be good?
I think we're good. I just want to say thank you for everyone who joined today and who is going to help us build this into the future. So thank you.
Awesome. As a reminder, this is recorded, so we will be sending it out as a follow-up next week. So if you guys want to share it with anyone else on your team, please do. But if not, I hope you all have a great rest of your week. See ya.
Bye.